Hi there, traders. Welcome to the live stream with me, John. I'm just going to go through some charts as usual. We're going to go over that data, and we're going to go over some of the charts that we spoke about this week and see how they've kind of performed and whatnot. Yeah. So as always, guys, feel free to drop me a message. I can see Suba has dropped me a message. Hi, Suba. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, drop me a message. Let me know what you guys have been up to this week, what you've been trading in particular. We can have a little discussion about those types of markets. I'm currently Kiwi Yen long at the moment in 2 positions, and currently up 25 pips on one, 45 pips on the other. So I just need to manage that position. So I've got it open up above me, and that's pretty much it. I did take a dollar yen long, which got stopped out, unfortunately. I was basically looking to see if price would hold the sort of low that created after the news the other day, and yeah, it didn't hold that low, kind of breached that low, and now we've seen dollar yen prices coming back into support at 149.60. So, well, we can possibly discuss that one as well, because I don't necessarily think the dollar run is over. It may look like that on the short term because of the data that we've had today, but I still think the dollar's in pretty good shape at the moment. So still happy to look for opportunities dollar wise. Hi, Vincent. I'm doing well. Thank you. Hope you're well, mate. Hi, Lee. Hope you're doing great. Vincent, I got stopped out on Aussie US dollar. Okay, so you're looking at shorts Aussie US dollar. I mean, we did get a spike. There was some high impact data out today. So let's go and have a little look at that data. We've had a bit of a high impact data news week in terms of the US. Obviously, we had CPI data out as well as some unemployment claims this afternoon and those core retail sales data. So it's been a bit of a busy day for the US dollar. I don't typically like to trade dollar in those types of conditions, although volatility there and is great because of that reason. You know, trading around news events can be slightly unpredictable, so it's nice to try and maybe find some levels that are a little bit away from price and wait for price to kind of come to those points. But core retail sales month on month fell to minus 0.6%, although the forecasts were 0.2% there. I did expect a little bit of drop in the retail sales. You can see retail sales month on month minus 0.2% there. We did get some revisions though, to 0.4%. That was from the previous 0.6%. So that's been revised down. Retail sales in January usually does come in lower. So I'm not sort of unexpected by the drop. Maybe that is a bit unexpected that core retail sales month on month dropped so much, considering the forecasts were about 2%, but that's something we have to kind of look into. And unemployment claims was the one as well. So a bit of mixed data, really, seeing sort of retail sales, core retail sales drop, but unemployment claims come in at 212K. Dollar indexes dropped off the back of that news. We're starting to see that sort of strength that was shown from the CPI data come in, and is seeing sort of that dollar sort of give back those gains. Not fully, about 50% of the move at the moment. So I'm watching to see if price will react on the US dollar. We do have core PPI out tomorrow, so there is that to consider as well. Hi, Irfan. Hope you're doing well. Bongo, good afternoon to you too. Vincent, please can you look at pound Swiss long? Yeah, sure. So pound, obviously, big data come out today. GDP month on month reports that now the UK is in recession. So buying pounds probably isn't the smartest thing to do right now, to be honest, Vincent, considering the GDP data month on month has come in lower. It may look like a green sort of marker there, and that's just because it came in above the minus 0.2%, but that's not great. That is not a good number for the UK. and obviously UK considered now in sort of a recession. We do also have retail sales coming out tomorrow. It does suggest that we are going to get a bit of a rebound here, but we'll keep an eye on that data. So let's go take a look at some charts. Then we'll flick through. I'll go over some charts that I like the look of, but first of all, we'll jump through the sort of majors. We'll go over the US dollar index, euro dollar, pound as well, and then we'll take a look at the pound Swiss and things like that, Swiss yen as well for ŭ𝖥𝖣yi, looking at Swiss and yen index. Bongo wants to take a look at euro dollar. 𝖥𝖣𝖣yi wants to look at a nice pullback on euro dollar. Yes, so let's check out the dollar index. Obviously, something we spoke about previously was the break above 104.50. I think this is a good breakout to see. What I did want to see was a sustained close above 104.50. 104.50, obviously a very big level of resistance for price. Kind of gives us the opportunity to look at price moving a little bit higher. Obviously, price has now kind of come up into those previous lows where we're getting a bit of a reaction, bearish data, things like that. But I don't necessarily think the job is done here for the US dollar index yet. I actually think that 106 is still something to keep our eyes on. So I will be looking at how price reacts in and around this area here. We've confirmed the close above 104.50. We can say that sort of, although we've pulled back since we kind of got above that area, it was data driven. So I would expect a retest of that sort of the area where we did see strong buying coming in. And if we react and we see a bullish run after that, then I think that's going to confirm our sort of bias here for the US dollar. So like I said, CPI is still running fairly hot in the US. I think that's a possible reason why we should continue to look at that US dollar run up for into that sort of 106 area. Let's go take a look at euro US dollar then. So we've been mentioning a few pullbacks here. Euro pulling back nicely into some kind of previous highs. The lows are starting to stall out a little bit here. This was the sort of area we were kind of looking at previously. The level that we talked about in particularly was 1.0705. If I just pop on a support band in here, what I'm going to do is just make sure that's on 1.0705. This was the level of support basically found from using the fixed range volume profile tool. And, we talk about volume a lot here, and, you can see the volume picked up in this area, and the point of control of that volume, which is just the most traded level at the time, was the 1.0705 handle. Price has found support here now. We're pushing away from that level. Obviously, dollar under a little bit of pressure at the moment, although I do feel like that is a little bit of a short-term move. However, we've got to understand that the market is pulling back away from this area of volume. So what I'd be looking for is short-term opportunities. If you did want to be short, I like shorts as long as price stays below these highs. If it doesn't and it breaches these highs, then there is potential for obviously the dollar pullback to be a little bit more aggressive, and euro dollar could come and try and head towards these kind of highs in here. Now let's go look at it from a 4-hour perspective. Again, sort of a move back up into the upside here. Lots of accumulation up here as well. So lots of selling pressure in this area here. We know that there's selling pressure here because price drove down to that P main area of support. So I expect some kind of selling to come in and around this point. How aggressive it is, we'll have to wait and see. If I really wanted to be short, though, from a risk-reward point of view, I'd be looking at these kind of swing highs, around about that 1.08 handle, because that gives me a good risk-reward ratio. If price comes into this level here, I've got time to potentially get short with stops very tight, with the potential for price to come down towards this main sort of volume range again. And if it does come back to this point, I've got options then. I've got options to sort of close a position down, or close half a position and hold to see if we can continue to sort of breach that level. And if it rebounds, we've got the option to walk away with just a little bit of profit from that. So I like the idea that price is pulling back. I like also the idea of maybe coming into this extreme level, like I said, around about that 1.08 handle for euro dollar. So I'd be looking at this area here as my kind of point of interest. Again, just trying to think of risk reward. If I try to get short in and around this area here, for risk reward purposes, I've got to put my stop loss within this price action, and that is a slippery slope because the market may want to come up into this point to then continue down. So I like the idea of the sort of dollar getting stronger against the euro. But do I like it where price is now? Probably not. I'd like to see maybe a move up towards highs, a rejection of those highs, and then something where we can kind of make a sort of safer trade, essentially. Let's move on to cable then. So cable is obviously very important at the moment with that GDP data. Pound was sold off quite aggressively today. I was watching this kind of minor sort of area of resistance for potential short ideas, but we're so close to this major support here at 125.25 that I just think there's no sort of reason to get short there. Again, just I always try and think in risk reward terms. You know, where's my return? And the safest place to get out is down at 1.25.25. So from a risk reward point of view, you know, it doesn't really make sense. It's almost like I'm holding an ace high in poker, if you're familiar with poker. It's not really something where I'm going to get that high reward to sort of risk ratio. You know, I want to be holding that sort of flush, you know, or a straight. So if price kind of gets back up into 1.26.25, then we can see that there's been visible selling pressure there in the past. So I like the idea of sellers trying to hold their positions there, and that could give me, again, better risk reward ratio down to these lows. And alternatively to that, like I said, because the dollar's under a little bit of pressure at the moment, we might just see a little bit of a move from 1.25.25 back up into 1.26.25. So that could be something to watch out for as well. The only thing I think, obviously, because of that GDP data coming in a lot lower than, you know, the UK in terms of all the sort of recession noise that's now coming through, could be under a little bit of pressure. The pound could be under a little bit of pressure because of that. So I wouldn't necessarily expect sort of much buying to go on, to be honest, on cable at the moment. So we'll have to wait and see. I think cable across, or pound across other markets, has taken a little bit of a beating. If we just open up the market watch here and just go down to the pound pairs, you know, we can see visibly here that pound is down across the board pretty much. So we have to take into consideration that as well. So, you know, I did like pound Kiwi this week. This was one to watch for us. This was on our watch list. I did like the idea of being pound Kiwi short. I actually tried to short this earlier in the week and got stopped out, but I was looking at shorts in and around this area. We then had really good pound data. If we go up to the this area here, you can see the claimant count came in good, but CPI came in at 4%. So pound rallied off the back of that. We've then seen that sort of continuation, and the GDP figure came out. So I've just been a little bit battered by pound in terms of data. So unfortunately for me, I've been stopped out on pound Kiwi, but I still like the idea of pound Kiwi moving to the downside. I think just because I've been whipsawed out of that does not necessarily mean that the bias is wrong. You know, I want to just see if there's a potential for price to kind of push back down towards these lows. The only thing I've got to consider again is, where's the smartest place to get short? It's definitely not here. You know, it's definitely not there. That is not the smartest place to get short. The reason why I took a short in this position here was because price had made this little base. We kind of traded through it. We came back into it. I saw my strategy rules set up in and around this area, so I took a short position. It was a very low risk move, to be honest. I didn't actually take a full position on it because I knew there was a lot of pound data out this week. But still, you know, the market has kind of pushed back a little bit higher here. But if I was looking at this now and saying to myself, you know, this is on my watch list, I want to get short, then this isn't a smart place to dive in. I know from an emotional kind of point of view, you could think, well, the market's running away. I want to try and jump on the back of that data. I want to try and, short the pound. This is an area where, people will be getting out essentially. So if we don't see price kind of react here, then yeah, maybe if price breaks through, there's the opportunity to look for some downside. But if it rejects here, price comes back, we've got this 2.08 level, which could be a good area to look for that sort of continuation. Maybe a little range will build from that point, which is something that I wouldn't necessarily mind seeing at all, really. Let's have a look at some news. Oh, pound Kiwi, Paul. Yeah, so hopefully I covered that okay for you, Paul. Let me just read your message out. Pound Kiwi coming up for a retest, then should continue back down. Could you take a look, please? Let's go have a little look at the lower time frame. But like I said, I like the idea of being short pound Kiwi. I think there's obviously a good little area in here where the market stalled and has continued. So if price doesn't sort of break back above this zone on a lower time frame perspective, maybe there could be something in there. But again, like I said, that to me is a little bit of a higher risk trade, because your stop loss to get the risk reward back to the lows, you're going to have it tighter. You're going to have to be willing to understand that price may push through that level first to come back to an area where strong selling pressure has been. So we have to understand that, if you take a move like that, maybe going at a lower risk, 0.25%, maybe even 0.5%, just try and mitigate risk at that point for that sort of opportunity there. But yeah, I do like pound Kiwi downside. I've liked it all week. I just haven't been able to actually catch anything good here for myself on pound Kiwi this week. Been a bit of a mixed trading week, to be fair. Although Kiwi yen seems to be pushing a little bit to the upside. So I can see a fan here. John, what are your views on NJ? Wanted a deeper pullback to 91, but the last 4H has a good bullish close. Let's go take a look at it then, because I am currently long. Now, I liked the 4-hour chart. I like the 4-hour chart a lot, and I actually liked this sort of build-up that was forming here. Quite often we can see price kind of form the head and shoulders pattern. I'm not a huge fan of calling patterns by sort of names and whatever, but it does look like that was a head and shoulders pattern. My favorite pattern is the double top double bottom pattern, and the reason I like that pattern so much is because it shows us that price is failing to make new lows, or it's failing to make new highs, and I think that's a good thing if you're looking to get involved with a particular market. So I've got involved. Let me just have a look at my trade terminal over here. I've got involved at 91.17, 91.36. So 91.17 was down here. Okay. Let me just change that to green. This is my level of entry. And then my other level of entry was 91.36. So basically, I've entered on the low and then entered on the pullback into this sort of area here. Oh, let me grab hold of that. 91.36, was it? 91.36. So those are my two entries on this market. And yeah, I agree. I was watching the 4-hour time frame. Price was pulling back here. I actually started to form a position because of the hourly chart. Now, the market was pulling back. Let me just change that to a different color so you can see that a little bit better. And then I saw this. Okay. Now, me, love ranges, love accumulations. I think this is where buyers and sellers are trying to agree on sort of fair value. Where's price going to potentially go next? Who's going to win at that point? So price basically came back into the swing lows here, and that's why I ended up taking a position long. So I managed to get a long at 91.17, stop loss underneath the 200 moving average here, and price has since rallied. I then got involved here, 91.36, because it was a retest of that range high. Okay, so I've got two positions in the market at the moment, both running at 0.5%. But you can see here, that's the reason why I got long in the first place, and that's sorry, in the second instance, and in the first place, I got involved here because the market started to fail to produce lower lows. Okay, I know you can see it with the candle wick, but it hasn't given a substantial close below that low there. So that told me that maybe buyers are starting to sort of defend that 91.17 area. So when price came back into it, I ended up taking a long position in here, and yeah, the market has since started to come up. I was a little bit sort of on the edge yesterday. This morning. If we look at the daily chart, so I've got a daily bullish close. Love to see that if I'm long in the market. I like the idea of price kind of finding a bottom, forming that sort of daily bullish close, and looking to see if that can now obviously extend up higher. But this morning we actually had quite a significant move to the downside. There was a very strong bearish candlestick overnight. We then started pulling back a little bit. So I was a little bit on the edge of whether I would close this position out on for a small loss. But nothing's technically changed here. The market is still making higher lows, higher high. Could this be a potential higher high? I don't know yet. We're going to have to wait and see. Going to see if price can obviously trade a little bit higher here. My target for this is up at 93.50. So I've got a really healthy risk reward on this one, especially if I'm long here at 91.17. So we shall see. We'll see if I can get that sort of continuation higher here into that sort of 93.50 area. Target 1 for 91.17 is up here. Okay, so I always want to be out at the first point of resistance on my first trade. So 91.17. If I get into this area here, I'll bank that position. I'll leave this one running at break even to see if it can go up to 93.50 there. But I can understand your frustration there, Fan, to be honest, because I like the idea of price coming back into this area of accumulation. So obviously we rallied. The market then was battling between those buyers and sellers. Buyers won. We broke out of that area. So it would have been nice to see sort of a retest in there. The only thing I can kind of point to is if we actually kind of, let me just bring on a support level and look at this sort of wick there, fairly close to where price started to turn round. So maybe there was, something in and around this area here where the buyers were comfortable with getting long again. So that's the only thing I can really say about New Zealand yen at the moment. But still on my sort of watch list. Let me see if I can bring in. I've got it open. Yeah. So this is what I've been watching this week. So I've been watching these markets in particular. So obviously dollar, I'm fairly bullish on. Dollar yen, I like the idea of being bullish. Dollar yen, tried to go long, just didn't work out for me. Dollar Swiss, I like the idea of being long as well, but we were long last week and the week before, so not in any positions on Dollar Swiss at the moment. Aussie Swiss I quite like as well, so we'll go take a little look at Aussie Swiss as well. But Euro Kiwi short, I like the look of, and Pound Kiwi short, I like the look of. Kiwi yen long. So as long as these daily candlesticks can remain sort of bullish now, I'll be happy with Kiwi yen, and I'll be happy to kind of keep that one going. So we'll see if that can obviously continue up here. Let me just change my board back a little bit. So let's go take a look at those other pairs that I was just talking about. So Swiss yen is on the list. Just there's nothing to do here on Swiss yen. I like the idea of a breakout forming on Swiss yen, but we're in a trading range. We need to see price trade outside of that range first, or come up into the weekly highs at 171.50. Price can get there, then I'll be looking at some potential options around that point. But let's go have a little look at some other pairs. So one of the pairs that I was interested in was pound. We've already done pound Kiwi, haven't we? Actually, pound Swiss. Vincent, you wanted to take a look at pound Swiss. Let me have a little look at the messages here. Yes, pound Swiss. You were looking to get long. Yeah, I don't know about that one right now. Weekly back up at that resistance area, one spot 111.50s. We're kind of rejecting that now. You know, bad data for the pound. I mean, I can see what you're kind of looking at there, right? You've got this kind of, again, thinking in terms of volume, you've got that sort of accumulation, low volume push. That area has failed, and then we've come back into sort of volume. You have to wait and see. See if you get accepted back in this area. If we do, then it might be a little bit troubling for the longs, but if you can hold this value area here, then you might see a little bit of a move back up to the upside. Do I think pound Swiss is the best option? Probably not. There's obviously some other options that would be a little bit better than this. You know, maybe Kiwi Swiss for one. I don't know. Let's have a look at Kiwi Swiss. Yeah, Kiwi Swiss looks a little bit better to me, although we are approaching that 5,400 area. Have to keep an eye on that. Keep an eye on that. Pound Swiss to me just doesn't make a lot of sense. I think that the Swiss franc could get a little bit weaker, but the pound's tanking at the moment. So I want to pair that strength and weakness up, and I don't want to pair two weaker currencies together. Although Swiss franc today is actually not performing too bad. I know Aussie Swiss was one of my opportunities to have a little look at in the market, and we have breached these kind of highs, which I was very interested in this morning. We breached that, had a daily close above it. So it's just to see. I just want to see if we could actually hold that momentum and potentially start to push higher. Looking at the 4-hour time frame, you know, we are coming back into a little bit of a low here. Let's see hourly. Let's see that. Doesn't look too great. To see if this hourly can hold here. If hourly holds, then maybe I can see obviously there's some volume being built down in this area. So maybe price could squeeze that sort of point. But I do quite like the idea of Aussie Swiss long. If we look at it from a weekly perspective, we came into these weekly lows on the 23rd of October. We rejected strong bullish weekly candlestick away. You know, it is a sticking point in the market, but if we do breach it, then there's options for price to kind of come up into that sort of 0 spot 58, 50 sort of zone up when the highs formed back in December. So I do quite like that option in here. Maybe we just need to see another bit of a push before we actually try and get on anything. I mean, look at the sort of trend that's formed here. Crossover on the 50 and the 200. Price has pretty much stayed above the 50. At the moment, we're struggling. We're struggling. If we can hold above the 50, then great. I think we'll probably trade higher. If we don't, the market may want to just kind of retest back towards that sort of 57.15 handle, which is just a little bit below. We'll have to have a little wait and see on that one. See if there's a decent push up. CAD Swiss, yeah, let's take a look at CAD Swiss. Where's CAD Swiss? Here we go. I looked at CAD Swiss for a little while. Get some fresh analysis on here. Are these that relevant now? Maybe this one is. Let me just stretch these out a little bit. CAD Swiss. CAD Swiss is interesting, isn't it? Obviously, we've come up into this kind of minor pocket of highs. 65.50. And had a little rejection there, starting to see a little bit of comeback. This is what I mean. The Swiss franc, although I've got it on my currency strength meter as a sort of weaker currency, It's doing pretty well at the moment the past few days, and so that weakness that we've saw come in might not be necessarily sustained weakness. So we'll have to keep an eye on it. But 65.50 going back towards that 6,500 level. Yeah, I mean, nice sort of fail to break into new highs here. Might be something if you looked for the pullback down into that 6,500 level, or 6,500 might be a little bit of an area of a rebound there for CAD Swiss potentially. I haven't really looked too much into CAD fundamentals at the moment, so I'm not sure what's going on the CAD side of things. Is there any CAD data out this week? Let's have a little look at last week CAD employment data. So employment data was fairly strong in CAD last week. Got the employment rate down to 5.7% as well. Bank of Canada Governor Macklem spoke last week as well, and I haven't looked into that too much, to be honest. I've been focusing a lot on dollar data. So, I mean, depending on what's been said there, maybe the central bank's looking to sort of keep rates at a steadier pace for longer, then, CAD could potentially benefit from that. So a rebound from 6,500 might not be too far out the woods there. Let's have a quick flick up to the weekly chart. Yeah, I mean, look, we're trying to break highs here. Is that a significant level? Oh, okay. This is really low CAD Swiss. I think if we can hold above 65.12 for the week, then maybe, looking at the weekly chart, although there's those highs there on the daily, you've also got these highs here, which could be an area. 65.90 could be an area for price to sort of go ahead and target. Yeah, but like I said, I haven't really looked too much into CAD Swiss. Let me have a little look at what the strength meter is suggesting there. Don't know whether really CAD's on my radar at the moment. It turns out actually CAD is in a little bit of a reversal zone. So CAD is the green line, and I can see that CAD has recently come up into those +5, starting to move a little bit lower. So maybe CAD is one to watch in terms of actually looking at potential shorts, considering it's back in this sort of reversal zone here on the currency strength meter. We'll see how that kind of comes in next week. If that's dropped down again, it could kind of show us that CAD strength that has been shown in the market is actually starting to fade a little bit. Swiss franc, like I said, Swiss franc's the purple line. You can see over the past couple of weeks, it has started to kind of drop a little bit. So, that could potentially be two currencies kind of driving in the same direction, and that can be a little bit troubling. Maybe having a little look at something like, I don't know, the yen weakness isn't great. Maybe a big switch on Aussie CAD could be something to look at. Aussie being at those lows. Let's have a quick look at Aussie CAD. Yeah, I mean, look at that. Maybe a potential reversal forming here on Aussie CAD. Could bring price up towards this 8,900 level. 4 hours starting to breach into new highs. I mean, you got these highs in here. The market might try and hold that. Not traded Aussie CAD much recently, so again, not really fluent in the market, but that's kind of what the strength meter's suggesting to me at the moment. Sorry, guys, I'm just watching the New Zealand yen spike up a little bit, so I'm just doing a little bit of management there. So I'm just going to set an alert on that one just so I don't miss that. It's not what I wanted to do. Why can't we just set an alert? There you go. Hello. It goes through potentially that level there. Just going to move stops below the 200 moving average there. Just going to track that up a little bit. There we go. Okay, so reduce risk on that one. Put an alert on the take profit level so that when if it hits, then I can bring my stop losses to break even on Kiwi yen. Open that back up a little bit. Okay, sorry. Ł Kiwi CAD as well. Yeah, potentially Kiwi CAD, especially from a currency strength and weakness point of view. Okay, so this is one of those things where you've got again, I always kind of talk about this. Understand why we get into a market, then we need conditions to be met. Conditions aren't met, we have to walk away. This is one of those things to me. Kiwi CAD was on the list there essentially to go long, right? Because we've got Kiwi getting stronger, CAD potentially reversing / getting weaker. Okay. So Kiwi CAD going long makes sense. But when it comes to the conditions that I want to see is either price in a strong level of support, or I want to see price in a position where we're starting to see trend being made in terms of higher highs and higher lows. Or like I said, if we're in a range, are we back at the sort of low of that range? Because I want to see price find support essentially. This is one where I walk away because I come to that there. That is at highs. I can't get the risk reward that makes sense for me to want to put risk on. So yeah, that to me is null and void. Kiwi CAD off the list for me. Okay. And it can be as simple as that. Obviously, you can look into other fundamentals as well that drives the markets, and you want to have a little look at sort of where the central banks are positioning themselves. But to me, at the moment, we had consolidation up at that 0 spot 84. We broke down that consolidation, consolidating again. Yes, it says longs, but is that a sensible place to get long? Why risk capital there? That's not going to be one for me on that one. I saw you can see Aussie Kiwi as well. Let's go check out Aussie Kiwi as well then. And then I'm going to go over some other markets. I did like the idea of buying silver this week, so we'll go take a look at that. Aussie Kiwi long. Okay, that makes... I haven't been on this chart in ages. I've got all my old drawings on there. Aussie Kiwi, not a particularly favourite chart for me, mainly because Aussie and Kiwi can tend to move quite similarly in the market. So sometimes it can be quite hard to judge Aussie Kiwi in that sort of way. And again, I always look at it and say to myself, well, if Aussie US dollar, New Zealand US dollar move pretty similarly, then I need to see a good disparity between those currencies. So if I want Aussie Kiwi longs, I need Aussie US dollar to be at support, Kiwi dollar to be at resistance moving down. We don't really have that at the moment because remember, Aussie Kiwi equals this, right? So you want to go take a look at your major currency pairs to see what's going on in order to kind of pass any sort of judgment on that one. But I can see what you're looking at. Prices back at weekly support. From a technical point of view alone, then that potentially does make sense. But for me, it's not a market I particularly trade. Let's go take a look at equities then, because I did like the idea of a rebound on the S&P 500. I was hoping it would come back, a bit further. I was hoping more towards the 48.50s, but we didn't really get that. Prices kind of rebounded higher here after forming a bottom around about 49.22. I think this is going to be the sort of situation with equities and whatnot. I just feel like, I would like to see the S&P 500 just kind of curl over a little bit. 4,800 to me would be a good level, would be a really good level to kind of try and get involved in the markets at the moment. Not quite there yet, obviously. So we'll have to be a little bit patient. Let's see where the NASDAQ ended up. Yeah, another rebound. And I've got a feeling this is what the stock markets are going to be about this year. Maybe a little bit of sudden drops on sort of data, but quick recoveries after that. So yeah, it doesn't look like this is going away just yet. I mean, again, I'd just like to see a bit more of a deeper pullback on the stock markets from a selfish point of view. You know, I just want to see a bit of a move back, so it gives me a good entry into longs. But yeah, not getting there at the moment. Let's take a look at gold and silver. Obviously, gold could potentially continue to drive lower if the dollar does continue to strengthen. We're back up at that $2004 area now, which is a significant level of resistance. Could obviously come all the way back up into that 2018 handle, depending on how the dollar performs. At the moment, dollar's dropping quite significantly, so gold may continue to sort of rally higher. I actually preferred silver though this week. I preferred silver longs, and I think silver longs make more sense because of the gold silver ratio in the market. And I kind of covered this on Tuesday. Gold silver ratio, gold against silver, can often highlight where's best to kind of put your money rather than trying to go with just gold all the time. And, you know, price came up into this area of resistance, and you can see the difference, right? We're moving down here. Take a look at silver. Silver up to 2.5% today, whilst gold is only up 0.7% today. Okay, so it makes sense to be a bit more into silver than gold at the moment. I did like longs at $22 on silver. So if you did manage to kind of jump in, longs at $22, you know, we're trading at $22.94 now, so we're nearly $1 up on that. I'm happy to just kind of wait on this one. I like the idea of it potentially moving a bit higher. So again, I'll just kind of look for some pullbacks, see if we can kind of break higher. Ideally, the safest trade, I think, is above 23.50. I think if silver gets above 23.50, there's a bit more of an idea that maybe, you know, we are going to see breaches and moves up to 23.50. Sorry, 25.50. So that's what I'm kind of looking for there. But longs at $22 made sense to me. I haven't taken advantage of this, I must be honest. I didn't get involved there. My risk was allocated elsewhere. But you can see, you know, from a technical perspective, support. If you take a look at sort of the gold-silver ratio as well, we can see that, you know, silver was just more of an option, I feel, this week. And, you know, if we do see gold-silver ratio continue within that sort of range that we've seen here, if I just kind of zoom out and, you know, and move back towards that 78 handle, then maybe silver, you know, is a good place to really look for that drive up to 25.50. We have seen a little bit of a rebound to some of those metals. I know we talked about palladium, before. Palladium usually has a really good run in January, but we just didn't get it. We saw obviously that dollar strength come in the markets, but you know, we are starting to see a little bit of a rebound here. You know, the market came a little bit lower towards the 850 area, so maybe a little bit more towards these lows before finding that rebound. But you know, I'm waiting for a good opportunity here. I feel like if you catch something good on a trending market, then you know, it can obviously be a little bit sort of lucrative. So just trying to find that market that's really going to spur on this year. And, you know, metals might perform pretty well. We'll have to see. Especially with, like, I guess, inflation rates coming down as well. You know, things like metals may improve slightly. Let's have a little look. I mean, Bitcoin, haven't managed to catch the Bitcoin run either. We've talked about being long Bitcoin. I think this is going to be a good year for Bitcoin, to be honest, with those ETFs coming in. I mean, look at that now. We've breached 49,150. We're now breaching 52.5K. So 62 doesn't sound too far off, does it, at the moment? So I do quite like the idea of Bitcoin longs. So yeah, unfortunately for me, again, I just haven't managed to catch that sort of Bitcoin rally at the moment. We're going to have to just hold off. Now, Bitcoin long term, do I see the value in Bitcoin? Not particularly. You know, I'm not one of those people that think cryptocurrencies are going to be the thing that really sort of dominates without any kind of regulation. I think if we do get regulation into cryptos, then I think obviously, yes, there's definitely some weight behind them. But I know that you can say that there are some regulations, but they are still very loose, especially with the sort of altcoins and things like that. So for me, it's definitely trying to think of where's the value of this being sort of, or where's the value of this kind of coming from. And it is speculative still. ETFs have joined in, so maybe we should join in as well. Tried to join in, just haven't managed to catch it yet. So we'll have to wait and see. We'll have to see if it can pull back a little bit, see if it can come back and give us an ideal sort of entry there. Yeah, I found the same. Waiting for Bitcoin to come back to 48k now. Otherwise, goodbye, nurse. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's got a good chance of just sort of heading higher, hasn't it? So yeah, we'll have to wait and see on this one, I think. Right then, guys, we're running about 45 minutes. I like to do about 40 minutes or so. So thank you for, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you for everybody that joined me today. I really appreciate that. I just want to give a few shout outs to everybody. Suba, thank you. Vincent, Lee, thank you for joining. Irfan, Bongo, 𝖢𝖣𝖣yi, thank you. Uche, Paul as well. Thank you very much for joining me today. Chris F, thank you as well. Just in your message there. Thank you for joining. So yeah, everybody that commented, asked questions, joined in, really appreciate it. And I'm going to leave it there. Hope you have a good weekend, and I will speak to you on Tuesday. Hopefully some of these markets can give us a bit of a pullback and give us some kind of opportunities to get involved. Yeah, other than that, just Kiwi yen long at the moment, seeing if this one can trade higher. Looks to be heading towards the highs at the moment, which would be my first targets around about now. Seeing if it can kind of push a little bit higher to get to that high, and if it can trade through that 93.50 might be on the card. So we'll have a little wait and see there. So thanks for joining me again, guys. Really appreciate it. Have a great weekend, and I will catch you on Tuesday.